At some point in their lives, whether for a short period of time or for years and years and years, many, if not all, tall girls have felt insecure about their height. It's natural, it's inevitable, everyone gets insecure at times. And if we lived through similar tall girl experiences, those insecurities were definitely very real. However, there are people who don't believe that these insecurities are real. Or let me rephrase it a little bit. There are people who believe that these insecurities shouldn't be real. Like they shouldn't exist, basically. Listen, there are a lot of things that rub me the wrong way as a tall girl, and invalidating comments are definitely up there. Oh, I wish I had your height. I wouldn't be insecure if I were you. You have no reason to feel bad about your height. Listen, I get it, but not really. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about the invalidation of tall women's insecurities, the pressures that come with being a tall woman, and how some tall girls may not like other tall girls. So let's get into it. Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to a Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone who is tuning in today is doing super fantastic. Before I get into this episode, I do want to say, make sure you're following me on my socials at a Tall Girls podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so that you can stay up to date on all of the latest podcast episodes and catch a glimpse of my everyday life. Also, feel free to leave me a review and let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. I also have a monthly newsletter. Make sure you subscribe to that. Everything is going to be linked in the description. I want to provide a little bit of context for this episode. I was scrolling through Reddit, trying to find some fresh podcast episode ideas. And yes, I scroll a lot through Reddit to come up with ideas for this podcast. But I did stumble across a very interesting post titled, "As a tall girl, I don't see why so many tall girls are insecure about their height. Maybe they should work on their personality." I'm not going to lie, when I first saw that title, I was like, oh, is this a direct attack of some sort? What's going on here? I was a bit taken aback. I was like, what is this person trying to say? But after reading the rest of the post, it was more of self-critique. She grew up very insecure and had issues, which she blamed on her height, like her being tall was the reason for all of the things that she went through, all the insecurities and all of the issues that she had, when in reality, she found it was her terrible personality and how she let self-pity and insecurity ruin her life. That definitely went in a different direction than I had previously thought. Because honestly, part of me thought that she was going to invalidate the insecurities of tall women, because that's what some people do. Invalidate our experiences, invalidate our insecurities. And we're going to get into why that's the case a little bit later in the episode, but first I want to discuss, why are some tall girls insecure? Well, there are loads of reasons for that, ranging from clothes not fitting quite right to family members telling you that you're built like a boy. Yeah, let's hear a couple examples.
Do you know what I find so interesting? I have been a tall girl all my life, and at school I was in hell. Do you know how dark school was? When you are a tall girl, it's the one thing people will pick up on. I was called all different names under the sun. I was called the Burj Khalifa, the Shard, the Eiffel Tower. I was called Lanky Girl, Giant Girl, BFG. People used to call me BFG. People used to roast me because it was the only thing they could pick apart. And that's what kids do at school. They find the thing that makes you different and pick on that and make you feel so bad for it. And that's actually tragic.
My whole life growing up, I was always the tall girl, taller than all the boys, taller than all the girls, and I was so insecure of my height. I literally used to look up height reduction surgery, and yes, height reduction surgery is literally a thing. You get your knees, they do something with your legs, I don't know, something like that. Hang on, let me put some deodorant on. But I was genuinely so insecure of my height. In photos and everything, I knew all the poses to make myself look shorter, I do the one leg bent trick, everything. I was always trying to look shorter. I just hated being the tallest in the group. I always felt like a giant around all my friends because they were all so much shorter than me. One of my biggest pet peeves about being tall is when I meet someone new and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so tall." I'm like, thank you. I did not realize I was tall. Thank you for bringing that to my awareness. But seriously, I've never once told a person that is shorter than me, "Oh my God, you're so short." I do not say those things. You don't say things to short people. I always get, "Oh my God, do you play sports? Do you play netball? Do you play basketball?" You don't say those type of things to people that are shorter. I don't understand. So yeah, growing up tall was my biggest insecurity ever. I just hated my height. I used to be like, wow, all I need in life is to be shorter and then I'd be happy and then I'd be pretty. I used to think that I had to be a lesbian. I literally thought I had to be a lesbian because I was tall. Moments from our childhood which I think lead to tall girls feeling insecure in their height as someone who is 5'10". Over the last couple of years, I've really noticed that I am insecure in my height, and I've been really reflecting to try and think of moments that have made me feel like this, and I definitely think there's some defining moments. First off, never being able to fit in the dress-up princess heel shoes when you're little. I remember that there was no point in time where I could get my feet into those shoes because my feet were always too big. Next thing is being at the back in every single photo to the point where you're literally non-existent. Because you're standing by the boys and the boys are standing in front of you, but they're basically the same height as you, so you're literally not existent in any of the photo. I had this when I literally started my apprenticeship. There's a whole cohort photo. I'm literally invisible in that photo. Next is always being the person who lifts their partner and is never lifted in dance. I noticed this more in year 7, 8 and 9 dance lessons where I would never be lifted. No one would even try to lift me because they thought that height equals weight. I was forever the lifter and never got lifted. Next thing's having to go out and buy adult clothes at the age of 8. I remember literally my dad and my mum would find it so hard to find clothes that are actually appropriate for me when I was 8 years old. I think I started wearing like size 4 adults clothes when I was 8, and then by the time I was like 14 I was already in size 10, size 12 women's clothes. Finally, this whole culture on the media that you don't want to date a man who is shorter than you, this makes me feel humongous all the time. Especially when I hit like year 10, so 15 to 16 kind of age, I started to realise how massive I was compared to my friends. Literally in my head, I feel massive. My feet are big, my hands are big, I feel like all of me is proportionately big because of my height. Massive insecurity. Let me know your guys' defining moments and why you think you've ended up feeling insecure on your height when we totally shouldn't.
Now, in the Reddit post that I brought up a little bit ago, there was a very interesting comment that I found when I was scrolling through the comments, and it was basically a tall girl talking about her experiences and how they had an impact on her. And she said something interesting that I really want to note here. She said none of that, like her insecurities, I assume, was due to her personality, but due to other people's personalities. And it's interesting to think about that because in reality, it's almost like external factors play a big role in our insecurities and a big role in our self-esteem, and especially other people's actions and personalities and opinions and values and morals, their beliefs, even their upbringing, and all of those things play a role in how they treat us, how they see us, the things that they do, the sexualization, the faces that they make, the stares, all of it. And we also have clothes, which is another external factor that really affect our self-esteem, especially because they have the ability to impact or skew how we see our bodies and how we see our size. Like for me, just as an example, I'm a tall girly, and so let's say I'm trying on a dress from Urban Outfitters. How do I put this? It makes me look larger than I actually am. I'm not trying to say like, yeah, like it makes me look like a man, like in the dress. Like it makes me look larger than I actually am because the dress is really short. It looks like a 10-year-old should be wearing it, not me. But like Urban Outfitters dresses are actually made for, teens and adults. But it's honestly things like that, like the external factors with the people and their personalities and what they do and how they treat us. And even like the clothes, for example, it's stuff like that it's like if you're not at that age or not in that point in your life where you're like very secure about yourself, secure about your body, secure about who you are as a person, those external factors can really mess with your brain and make you think that there's something wrong with you. But I want to open up the floor. Tall girlies, what was your number one insecurity about your height growing up? Since we're all trauma dumping this episode. Okay, let me stop. So now that we understand some of the insecurities that tall women have, let's talk about how some people are very dismissive about it and how some people even invalidate those insecurities. I came across another Reddit post that was titled, "Why do people think just because we're tall, we aren't allowed to be insecure?" And then there was like a screenshot of another Reddit post of a tall girly talking about her insecurities as a tall girl and some invalidating comments under it, including, "Supermodels are tall. You shouldn't feel bad about your height. Being a tall woman isn't a big deal." Comments like these invalidate tall women's insecurities and experiences, and quite frankly, they're very annoying to hear. It really shows that the person just doesn't get it. And the girls who get it, and the girls who don't. If you don't get it, then you're not that girl. Like, okay, sure. some models are moderately tall or some are even very tall. But models also get backlash too, whether it's their height or it can be other physical traits that they may have or other physical features they may have. I did ask you guys in a poll on Instagram, and I'm going to do a quick little plug here. Make sure you follow me at A Tall Girls Podcast so you can participate in these polls and have your opinions heard on these episodes. But I did ask you guys in a poll on Instagram, has anyone ever dismissed, brushed off, or invalidated your height insecurities? 92% of you guys said yes, multiple times, and 8% said no, never. I am not surprised by these results. That's like a pretty common thing within the tall girl community, and I don't think it's really spoken about enough, how people don't believe that we should have insecurities around our height. We shouldn't be having insecurities about being tall, even though these people are low-key causing these insecurities, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, even looking through the responses and seeing who answered what, for most of the people who said yes multiple times, most of them are the tall girlies. Most of them are the tall girlies. This is something that we actually go through. So I find this very interesting, but honestly, not surprising at all. Like, yes, I agree. Being tall is an asset, but some people still make us feel bad about it. Yet there's this pressure to love our height all of the time and the pressure to always be confident in ourselves. Like, it's natural to feel insecure and vulnerable at times, but it's almost like people kind of expect us to constantly be resilient. And see, that's the thing with the expectation of tall women to constantly be resilient, the expectation of tall women to be strong and so forth. Like, part of that is a stereotype because, height equals masculinity. So since people associate height with masculinity, they associate us with like characteristics like strong, resilient, etc. So they kind of expect us to be able to deal with and handle the harsh comments, the harsh critique, the harsh behaviors and the harsh actions towards us and so forth. And we're just supposed to brush it off our shoulders because, the whole thought process and associations with height, and we should be able to handle that essentially. So that's that with the whole like strong and resilient stereotype and so forth that's often associated with tall women. But then also another side is that I feel like the whole resilience and always being confident thing, that expectation, is also an excuse to try to humble us, which then that makes us insecure about our height. Like, what? Like, I don't understand why you're insecure, because you're literally living my dream of being tall, and it's almost like some type of projection of their insecurities because, they wish that they were that tall, they want that height, and they would feel good about themselves if they were tall. They would feel good about themselves if they had that height. They would feel more confident and feel better about themselves. Like, they would probably have such a high self-esteem. So in that thinking, they're thinking, because you're living my dream and you have that height, you probably feel extremely good about yourself. You're probably super confident about yourself. You probably hold yourself to extremely high regard. So because you feel the way that I want to feel, I'm going to just humble you. I'm going to make sure you don't feel too confident about yourselves. So yeah, I'm basically going to make you feel insecure, but I don't know why you feel insecure, even though I'm trying to make you feel insecure. Like, do you see where I'm trying to go with that? Like, let me know if that makes sense to you or if that's confusing, but like, that's ultimately what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, you can definitely let me know your thoughts on that. And interestingly enough, there may be tall women that are invalidating other tall women's insecurities. So there are some tall girls out there who don't like insecure tall girls. No, I'm just playing with you. Not me about to cause a feud in the tall girl community. But I think that's the case because they see their past selves in that insecure tall girl.
Okay, one thing I literally hate, like I cannot stand this, is seeing tall girls be insecure about being tall. Now, I've been tall my whole life, but like I've always just felt like model energy, like main character walking through the halls, main character energy. Like, you can reach things easier, you can see things easier, but then girls will be like, but men like shorter women. No, that's where we stop. Because when you bring the word men in, that's when you're worried about the wrong thing. Your issue is you need to just start making everything about yourself. You girls need to actually start making things about yourself. Stop making it about the men. Instead of saying, I'm too tall for him, say, he's too short for me. And the other girls were like, I just feel so like tall around my friends, like I feel like a monster. Trust me, I get that. Like, at my school, the average height is like 4'11" for whatever reason, and then I'm just like, above everyone. But you know what? Like, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Like, stop saying, oh, I feel like a monster, I feel like a giraffe. What? Why are you saying something bad? Just say you look like a 2000s runway model, goddess, I don't know. Like, honestly, that's kind of a power. Like, you're in a friend group of girls and you automatically stand out like that. Like, that should be something to be confident about. Like, being tall, standing out like that, that's not a bad thing. Like, just embrace that.
But honestly, I feel like it comes from a tough love type of stance with a little hint of annoyance. Like, girl, wake up. Being tall is a blessing. Please stop being insecure about it. It's basically kind of like they're talking to their past selves because they once had those insecurities. They once had those insecure actions and those insecure thoughts. And then they're at that point in their lives or at the point in their journey where they realize that, oh my gosh, being tall, being a tall woman is such a blessing and it's such an amazing thing. So I think that it's also linked to a little bit of frustration. Like, oh my gosh, why didn't I have this realization earlier in my life? And then they're trying to push that realization onto the insecure tall girl who may not be at that point in their journey where they're in love with their height, where they absolutely love being tall. And I feel like to some degree, they almost kind of forgot what it was like to be in that place, you know, be in that place of insecurity or constantly like doubting yourself and just feeling bad about your height and having all of these like types of thoughts and so forth. Because maybe they're at the point where they're secure about their height and they love their height and they're confident about it and so forth. And maybe they were at that point for so long that they kind of forgot what it was like to be insecure about it, if that makes sense. So they're like, I'm a tall girl, you're a tall girl, I absolutely love my height, I don't see anything wrong with it, you should be feeling the same too, and I don't understand why. And then that's also kind of where that gets a little bit tricky, where it's like, oh, like, but you're also a tall girl, like, you should kind of understand to a certain degree where I'm coming from when I'm saying that I'm insecure and stuff like that. Like, you should have some type of empathy or have some type of understanding because you were once in that position, so you would know. You know what I mean? So I don't know, just having like a little bit of compassion for the other tall girlies as well who may feel bad about their height and so forth. I hope that made sense. Maybe I'm just talking in circles. I don't know. You can let me know in the comments. But let's end off with like a question. Something for you to think about or something for you to even let me know. How can the tall girls transition from being insecure about their height to being confident? From shrinking themselves to standing tall and proud? Drop your juicy secrets and top tips in the comment section. But thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I really appreciate it and I appreciate you. Of course, as always, feel free to hit me up on my socials at A Tall Girls Podcast. They're linked in the description, and let me know what you thought about this episode. What do you think about the tall girl insecurities? What do you think about the fact that external factors, especially other people's comments and upbringings and personalities, play a huge role in our insecurities and our self-esteem issues? Also clothing, that playing a role in our self-esteem issues and our insecurities. How do you feel about other people invalidating our insecurities, invalidating our experiences, maybe even other tall women invalidating our experiences and our insecurities? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a conversation about this. I genuinely want to know. And yeah, until then, have a good rest of your day, week, month, year, life, whatever it may be for you. And I will catch you in the next one. Good night and goodbye.